Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special chat with the man who will now be leading country's largest insurer and also one of the most active market participants, Mr. S.K. Roy. Thank you so much for joining us today and congratulations on your new role now, sir.
Thank you.
Let me begin by asking you, you've been with LIC for over 3 decades now. You've seen it evolve along with the market, along with the industry itself. With what mindset and agenda are you taking up this role now? What are the few things that you want to bring on the table? What would your game plan be for LIC?
Yeah, at the outset, I would say that it's a very big privilege to be able to be captain of this very fantastic team. As you would know that LIC is a huge mine of talent and potential. I believe that anybody who is in my position would look at unlocking that potential which exists in the organization, and our success largely depends upon that.
How would you go about doing that? Can you give us a few things?
The talent is in diverse fields. Let us take HR for example. We have more than 1 lakh of employees, many of them highly trained, highly motivated. They're in a position to deliver any type of results that the organization expects from them. This is a huge asset for an organization, and I'm very proud to be heading such a team of such talented people. We have more than 12 lakh agents. Large numbers of them are professional, knowledgeable people. They have been taking LIC's products to the market. We need to leverage their potential. We are a mine of domain knowledge, whether it is investments, whether it is the finance side, whether it is the actuarial side. So huge potential and domain knowledge which is available within the institution. My strategy would be that these potentials we will use to greater advantage so that the corporation does better than it has been doing in the past.
Do you think with the kind of huge task force that you have and the domain knowledge that you're mentioning, you could do something that could ensure that the kind of degrowth that both the organization and the industry itself is seeing can really be changed? I mean, regulatory scenario aside, what can really be done to ensure that you gain market share while you've maintained it for so many years? You can actually lead it for further growth.
The interesting fact about LIC is, I believe that there may not be any parallels, but I am subject to correction. That after the industry opened up to private players, we did lose market share for a few years, and I don't think there could be another institution where there are 24 players in the industry and the public sector entity holds 84% of the market share. That's the type of market share we hold presently in terms of number of sales. So yeah, I agree that there has been degrowth last year. But that's on account of just one product that we did not have on the pension and group schemes, which was a large contributor to our top line, and we did not have that product, so obviously we had to face the consequences of that. Now current month we are going to put the entire pension and group schemes product in place, and I'm sure that this year you will find that LIC is doing well, showing growth. And once we show growth, the industry will show growth.
I'll come to those products in just a bit. Before that, I wanted to ask you about the traditional products themselves. We've seen that the industry is actually graduated from ULIPs more towards your conventional products once again. But then the new guidelines have come into place. There's an entire process of maybe relisting you'll have to do. Have you started off that process? In the larger scheme of things, what would be the impact that you may see on business?
Yeah, after the final guidelines have been put out in the public domain, we have been filing products with IRDA, and our first approval for the product has already come. So that's a good beginning. We have a filing strategy for the next couple of weeks, And by the time the Q2 ends, I'm confident that our main basket of products for the current financial year would be in place. You raised an interesting question about the movement of the market from ULIPs to conventional products. This is something which is purely market driven. Sure. I do not foresee that any insurance company, including LIC, would be able to determine which way the consumer is going to choose. And in all fairness, this choice should be left to the consumer. And if the consumer feels in today's economic environment, a non-ULIP traditional platform life insurance product is what he wants, I think it's our duty to make such products available to him. Within that, there is a fair amount of diversification in terms of features is possible. We'll try to bring that into the market.
Okay. How about the other categories then? There's some amount of work that was being done on the health product side also. You mentioned the pension insurance industry, not just IRDA, even SEBI has been talking about increasing the awareness when it comes to all kinds of pension products. As the market leader, how can you work towards developing that market itself?
Yeah, I mean, you see, people's concerns, I mean, especially regulators' concerns in the pension market, I believe is mostly on the individual side. It's not on the pension side, the group insurance side. See, we have to accept that health and pension are specialist products. These are products which every distributor may not be in a position to sell. There are some people, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, that they are very professional, very knowledgeable people. Maybe they find it more convenient and useful to sell health and pension. My personal belief is that these are products which cannot be sold by everybody to everybody. So we in LIC, we have regular training programs. We identify people who could be in a position to sell health and pension products. And those people, after getting trained, the part of the training is that they do not sell these products to everybody.
Sure.
So on health and pension, everybody cannot sell, and it cannot be sold to everybody.
You have
because
to keep your target audience.
Yes, because it's a niche market, and we need to be sensitive that there is a niche market for these products.
So that special training will have to be done.
It's an ongoing process in LIC.
Okay. My last question when it comes to just insurance as a business would be that any specific steps that you need to take to ensure that these categories that you're talking about, apart from training your own people, actually grows faster? Any changes you would want as far as the regulations itself are concerned?
Normally we don't, as an organization, we do not comment upon regulators or regulations. But you see, we have seen high impacting regulations in the industry in the last couple of years. I think maybe it's time to stabilize. There were regulations on the distribution side. Actually, there's some work still going on, we believe, on the bank assurance front. So those final guidelines will come. As and when they come, I believe that there will be an element of stability as far as the distribution team is concerned. The products, we are in the process of getting them restructured. This will take some time because stability on new products will not happen overnight. I'm sure everybody is working on getting stabilized as soon as possible. We in LIC, we are doing that. Regulations will keep on changing. I think to meet the requirements of the environment, regulations will keep on changing. We as insurers, we will have to adapt ourselves to those changed regulations.
Who's the man?
Hey, how's it going, partner? Come, let's go.
Who's the man?
You're the man.
I'm the man with the pen. I'm a journeyman going back.
Renault Pulse. Life needs a pulse.
You earn money and invest it to better your future. But for what? to lose it over some unread fine print? That's not fair. I urge you to be alert all the time. And I promise myself and you to fight back for your rights.
In the past few months, you've, as an organization, become extremely active in the markets itself. Bit of a change in the portfolio, quite a lot of investments again. How are you seeing the market conditions right now? The global investors, of course, are fleeing the country. We've seen heavy amount of outflows both in debt and equity from the markets. How are you reading the entire conditions?
See, LIC has always fancied itself at being a contrarian investor. You would feel that it is bad times when markets are down. We share that anxiety on that point, but then we see the silver lining in the cloud, because when the markets are down, it's a good opportunity for me to invest. We took advantage of that last month when the markets were not doing too well. Our equity participation was fairly high. When markets will do well, that's the time when I get an opportunity to book some profits, to the extent it is possible for me to book profits. Because for a large institutional investor like me, it's not the easiest of things to book profits. So we are keenly looking forward to opportunities when that happens. We got some opportunities in the last financial year. I hope these profit booking opportunities will come to us in the current fiscal also.
I know you've set a target as far as the amount of investment that you want to make in the equity markets on an annual basis, what percentage of your revenues it should be. So that's fine. But what is your target when it comes to the kind of returns that you want and the kind of profits that you want to book?
See, I am in the business of providing safety against risk. And with that safety, I should provide some return to my policyholder. Now, we have not been in the last 57 years able to decide what is the optimum return that I can give to my policyholder, because such a figure would never exist. Obviously, we always want that I should be able to give the highest possible returns to my policyholders. For whom I am undertaking this massive investment exercise. So we don't have a benchmark that what would be the optimum level at which we would like to give returns to policyholders, but our entire objective of the huge operations of investments that we do is to optimize returns on investments, and you know that we don't keep anything with ourselves. It's all passed on to policyholders by way of bonus or to the government by way of dividend.
Any specific sectors that you think at a time like this, and the markets are going down, provide a good buying opportunity?
See, we are looking at a few sectors with great interest. The banking sector, where we have fairly large exposure, we are still looking at the banking sector with interest. The FMCG sector is something which interests us, especially some, I'm not saying the entire sector, but maybe we will look at a few opportunities in that. Metals is something. You
made some good money out of Hindustan Unilever?
We normally don't discuss individual investment decisions, but okay, I mean, you know something which I need not contradict. The natural resource is also a good sector for us, so we are looking at that also with some interest.
Infrastructure also?
We are always, I mean, we are sort of, that is our staple.
Bread and butter?
Yes.
Okay. I know you would say that it's not just LIC's job to bail out any divestment program of the government or any company that hits, but we were actually just sitting and analyzing some data that's just recently come. The past few of the government-owned companies that have hit the market for stake dilution has seen quite hefty participation from LIC, especially the big ones. would that be because all of these companies really make a lot of sense to you? Is it that you are still more bullish on government-owned companies than privately-owned companies? Is there a risk factor involved? How would you justify the kind of buying that you've done?
No, I mean, I do not see it as a government-owned companies vis-a-vis non-government-owned companies. No. If we have participated in an OFS, it is only after we have done our due diligence. Now, I want to make one point further clear, that since I am required to look at long-term investment opportunities, there would be some companies which give me more comfort on that front than some other company. Sure. So, as a prudent investor, I would look at them with great deal of interest, and hindsight says that our decisions have held us in good stead.
Sure, okay. It's a stalemate when it comes to LIC's desire of having the cap increase from beyond 10%. There's been a lot of back and forth. Should it be taken to 30% or not? Where does that situation stand? Are you hopeful of any kind of resolution anytime soon?
See, it's not a stalemate. Okay. Let us be clear. I mean that regulations are in place. The regulations apply to all life companies. So it applies to us ipso facto. There is one point of difference. The type of volumes that we generate, number one. Number two, we have been in this industry for 57 years. And there are a very large number of old companies where we have been invested heavily in the past. Historically, we have held those investments. So, there could be a possibility that the regulator could look at 23 companies in one way and make a special relaxation for one company because of the factual circumstances. It's not that it is because we want to. The facts of one company are very different from the facts of the other 23 companies. It is in this context that a representation has been made, and I don't want to prejudge the issue, but I think
but that's not how the other regulators are seeing it.
The regulator is going to take a view on our representation, and I believe that the regulator's decision would be in the best interests of the industry.
It's been a while, and this has been your position now, and at several instances it's been stated that the regulator is not in agreement of this position of giving an exemption. What makes you so hopeful now?
I believe that the jury is out on that. We have not heard finally from the regulator, and till such time we don't hear or know, we believe that it will be a good reasoned decision.
CFA Institute, shaping a financial industry that better serves society.
Presented by Maruti Suzuki SX4 for boys who grow up to be men.
The last time we met your predecessor and we spoke about the banking license scenario, the final guidelines were yet to come. The final guidelines have come, the applications have been put in. How are you preparing your LIC housing arm? Is there some kind of synergies that you are looking at? Of course, the kind of manpower and the task force that you have on field and the kind of reach that LIC has could be used in several ways for the banking opportunity. Give us a sense of what you're thinking right now if that license comes along.
See, first, let us be clear that the license has been, the application has been filed by LIC Housing Finance.
Yes.
The LIC happens to be a stakeholder in LIC Housing Finance. Otherwise, LIC Housing Finance is a sovereign public limited company. It's run by its own board. The board, in its wisdom, has decided to file for an application for a banking license. I presume that the board has, amongst everything, considered that a banking license would be good for that company. If the board is of that view, I have no reason to hold a view contrary to that.
Do you not see a circumstance where your organization's reach and task force could be utilized for the kind of financial inclusion that Reserve Bank and the Finance Ministry is talking about?
That's something for, if and when that banking license is got and the bank is set up, it is for the board of that bank, when it comes into existence, to consider various options available if at that time it feels that it can draw some comfort from the positive that LIC can do, and subject to obviously regulatory approvals. It's a question that can be considered at that time. I think it's little a day too premature to try to fix a solution to that issue, that what will happen if the bank comes into existence vis-a-vis LIC.
Okay. We've been talking to a lot of market experts and how they are judging the economy right now and the kind of headwinds that we are facing, be it on the fiscal front or on the market conditions side. Now, I know you're a long-term investor and you're always optimistic about the long-term opportunities, but just as a person who's leading such a big institution, we would want to know what your views are about the current state of affairs. Are you concerned at the kind of fears that the global investors are showing regarding the opportunities in India?
See, as you rightly pointed out, that we are long-term investors. If a global investor has taken a decision which on investment, it is their decision. They must have done due diligence on that.
What would be your message to them for being the most optimistic and active investor in the country?
I have no message for them, because I may believe that everybody would take considered decisions which at that moment of time when the decision is taken is considered to be the optimum decision at that time. So I'm not saying that anybody's decision is right or wrong, or it could have been different. Looking at it from the LIC's perspective, what happens in a fortnight or a month or a quarter is not very important.
But it's been over a year since the time span has been.
I am looking at a time span of 15 to 20 years to 25 years. That's the tenure of my normal contracts. So I mean, these are small time frames in my long time perspective that I have to consider. Economies go up and down, that is part of the cycle, and there's nothing unusual about ups and downs. They would happen. There is no economy in this world which has not seen ups and downs. So we are in no way in that sense unique. I mean, if something is happening across the globe, it would happen in India also. My view is that from LIC's point of view, we have nothing to worry about, because these small glitches in short duration time frames don't really have a long-term impact on us.
Point taken, sir. My last question to you. Mr. Finance Minister has urged the people of India to not buy gold for now, to refrain from buying gold. Do you think this would be a good time for you to go and tell the people of India that maybe they should put their money in other investment vehicles, in other insurance products? Can you turn this around in some ways for your benefit?
It's an interesting point you have raised. When I was looking after operations in one of my previous assignments, we used to tell people that gold at the rate at which it was being sold in February, March, April is not sustainable. People who have bought gold at 32,000 rupees have today lost 6,000 rupees per 10 grams of gold purchased. But we have to respect their decision, because it's a decision that a customer has made, and I am a firm believer that we should not challenge a customer's decision. The point that Honorable FM has made, yes, is there an instrument in the financial sector today which gives returns perceived to be as attractive as gold? Yes, there are. We have products which give returns which in my understanding, they offer a more stable and a more safe return than gold, or for that matter any other asset. So this is a point that we have been raising with our sales teams in the past, that we should sensitize people that commodities would see fluctuations, but at least I am very confident that the products of LIC, they are very stable products as far as returns are concerned. We don't see any fluctuation, downward fluctuation, at least as far as the non-ULIP products of LIC are concerned. Over ULIPs, we have very little control. So this is a very useful point that Honorable FM has made, and I wish that people consider his suggestion with all the seriousness that it deserves.
Do you believe ULIPs are a debt segment now?
No. This is, again, it's a part of a cycle.
It can be revived.
It's a part of a cycle. You never know when the huge market of India will start getting excited to ULIPs. And then you will find maybe in the short term or medium term, when Sensex does better, and this is slightly contrarian. Sure. But you never know when the demand for ULIPs will come, and there will be a mad scramble to get that pie of the ULIP market share. Yes.
All right, Mr. Roy, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best for the next 5 years.
Thank you very much.